Hey everybody, it's Jason with On the Play Games. I'm joined today by Ken. Ken, do you want to give us your last name, or you want to keep that one kind of hidden from everybody, or how do you?
Sure. Last name is Tober. My name is Ken Tober. On Melee, I'm Lord Perth. If any of you guys have seen me there, and yeah, happy to be here.
That's awesome. We were had a chance to meet your wife and you towards the end of the tournament, and had a very interesting conversation about various topics. One was that you had just joined the Star Wars game community somewhere in the neighborhood about 3 4 months ago, and I was very curious about how you found yourself in that transition to where you decided Star Wars was a game that you wanted to check out and obviously do well in.
Yeah. The answer is two part. It's obviously for many people in the community that the Star Wars IP is very appetizing. A lot of people enjoy it. I've been surrounded by it my whole life. I came up on the movies. I've played all the other games. Star Wars Destiny, the Wizards of the Coast, Decipher, all of them. And then the second part is the rule set. There is another game I play. I've got the T-shirt on here. Flawed trading card game has like 95% the same rules. So I've been playing this for a couple of years, been involved with it, since the get, and that made it a very easy transition where it was like, hey, I can go to my locals. There's people playing, and I already know how to do this. So let's jump in and see how it goes.
Yeah, I was checking out some of the cards. Your wife pulled out one of the decks I think she brought with her from the game Flawed, and was showing me kind of like how the name fits the cards because they're like two-part cards. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then when y'all started talking about the mechanics, it did have a lot of the same mechanics of the way of gameplay and how the interaction between you and your opponent. So it was really cool to see another game out there that has a very similar play style as Star Wars Unlimited, but then takes a completely different approach to how the cards are actually constructed. It was really cool.
Yeah. The
And I
deck
think
building and
that
the card building is like the thing that sets it apart for sure. And then there are some other differences. I mean, without going crazy, there's a stack, so like you can respond and that type of stuff. But yeah, it's very similar.
yeah, and it's a startup, right? Like a Kickstarter right now.
Yep. The second set is in Kickstarter right now. Funded, and that should be getting released by about the end of the year, I think.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So be looking out for that, y'all, because it looked like a really cool way of approaching a card game where you kind of built your own card in a sense. So I was really impressed by it. Me and Ken met at the Legends of Force Planetary Qualifier at Cape Fear Collectibles last Sunday. They had a cap of 64 players, and they almost reached it. They had 63 out of 64, so we had a full 6 rounds of play. The finals standings, as you can see, you were sitting in 8th place due to the decision to do a double ID in.
Yeah, that was we calculated all the math ahead of time. There were, gosh, I don't remember. And at the end of round four, I think there were like 13 X and ones, which was going to get cut in half and cut in half again. So we knew the exact four of us that were all 4-0 could just draw, and we were locked for positions 5 through 8. There's pretty much no way about it. And yeah, having the tournament knowledge and understanding how that works and being able to just secure your spot is very nice. So we got to take a little bit of a break before the top 8, and just kind of coast on in.
Yeah, it's nice to get 4 wins real quick in a 6 rounder, and then
Yeah,
know that now that they have draws officially in the game,
right.
that you can double ID and pretty much lock in almost in any situation. I have seen some like 7 rounders where like table 2 can be on the edge, depending on some where their other opponents are sitting, but you were definitely sitting in a good spot, and you did not have a weak field of players that you were going against. One of the players I noted that was in the top 8 was William Hannon. He has got his YouTube channel Hannon's. Yeah, William has been, I think, in either 6 or 7 top 8s out of like 10 Planetary Qualifiers that he's done since the
Okay.
start of his run. Day 2'd in the sector. I mean, he is a top-notch Sabine player. And I think he's done almost every time with Sabine. There may have been a Han 2 day weekend that he did for sectors in there somewhere. But I believe he was the first opponent that you decided to ID with. If I look down here with your tournament path, or no, it would have been the second one. So he would have been your 6th round opponent at that point.
Okay.
So that puts you in a position where you end up playing 2 Quinlan Vosses and then a Kira. And the Quinlan Voss that seemed to have given you the biggest fight was the R.R. Grommet Quinlan Voss. I want to take a look at that and kind of give me an idea of where the challenges were in the mirror match, what differences you might have made in your deck list compared to the list we're looking at right now, and just kind of your thoughts on what the matchups are looking like.
I'll do my best to remember all the matches, and I'll be honest. I played back-to-back Quinlan mirror matches, both being run by a couple guys from the Raleigh Raiders team that were, traveling into to the event as well. So there is undoubtedly a little bit of blurry lines between all these. But I do remember in this one that there's a pretty big disparity in games 1 and 2 in particular with Force Throw. I remember vividly that I got my Plo Koon Force Thrown for 5 when it really mattered, and something else. I forget what the other one was, but it was just every time we got down to very low resources, that was the card they had left, and it you play it because it's good. I'm not being upset about the fact that he had him or anything, but man, it was really tough to fight through that. As far as the deck lists, he and I had actually pretty similar decks. One of the things I noticed game 1 is that he had main deck Fangfighter, which so did I. He actually played one of those in game 1. It was just one of those situations where it's I just need any unit, boom, here's a Fangfighter.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were pretty close back and forth on the cards, and it's the mirror is so boring. You play turn 1, you both say pass. You play turn 2, you both say pass. You play turn 3, and the best thing you can do is play 2 drops, right? And we both had it every time, and it was a lot of if you were the one who had initiative, you had to keep your speeder in your hand so you can pop the guy that they play, and then they get to use their Quinlan second because you played your guy first, and just it's a lot of really nuanced stuff that's it's kind of just annoying. It's honestly just annoying. Is really what it comes down to, because it's non-obvious play patterns that if you don't know the mirror match, you won't do, right? Like arbitrary players will just play a guy. They'll say I'm a deck, I'm going to play a guy. They won't know any better, But once basically you have to play 2 guys on turn 4 so you can go in. Well, on 4 resources, you play 2 guys on 4 resources, so that on 5 resources you have a board that Plo Koon can one shot the opposing Quinlan. Right?
Okay.
That's the big tension point, is making sure that you always have at least 2 guys in place so that if they flip their Quinlan, you can immediately kill it. And that's where the whole game goes after that point. And that's just you jockey for position, you go back and forth. I ended up squeaking it out 2-1 in the first mirror match, and then the second mirror match, I think I drew a lot better. My opponent had a lot of Force Throws, but I had a lot of Hans, and Han is the mirror breaker. Because you don't do anything on 2 resources and 3 resources, the entire game is kind of shifted. Like you get to 7 sooner than you think you do, kind of. And Han is just a humongous problem. He just kills everything. When you have more Hans, they trade back and forth, and then whoever's is the last one standing pretty much reigns supreme. So that was kind of my secret to winning the second one, was just draw all the Hans.
Yeah, and I also one thing that I noticed is in the second list, the one that you went 2-0 against, they had 3 of the X-34 land speeders instead of the 2 of.
Sure.
And do you think that is a play into the mirror match of Quinlan, or is it just that good of a card?
So here's the funny thing. I genuinely thought the consensus was to side deck the X-34s and you bring them in against 2/2 shieldeds, because they ping for 1 and then ambush for 2 and stay alive. And you're doing that against a lot of the force decks and that type of stuff. And a lot of people play them out of the side deck and keep the traditional, like, 3 Audi, 3 Sabine, 3 L337, and 3 Green Squadron as their 12 turn 1 plays. And then they side in, like, 2 of the land speeders. I thought I was being really clever in playing the main deck, but apparently everybody's doing it now.
You were onto something.
Yeah, sure.
And in this list, I noticed it's got 3 surprise strikes, where in the mirror match before that, they had 2 surprise strikes. And when we take a look at your list, I noticed you also had 2 surprise strikes. So tell me what got you to the number 2 on the surprise strike, because it seems like such a great card in that action economy.
Yeah, there's a couple things with it. I mean, number one, like, when I came to the game, that's what most of the lists had. Like I said, I'm pretty new, so I'm going off of a lot of existing information. But at the end of the day, the surprise strike is one of those cards that, like, you resource it for the first, like, 5, 6, 7 turns of the game. Like, you can't play it until you're killing them with it, right? And you also have the hotshot blasters that does, like, almost the same thing. So if you look at it from that perspective, you kind of have 5 surprise strikes anyway. So it's like, it's one of those cards that you can trim on, because the deck list is incredibly tight. Like, I'm forever wanting to get, like, 1 or 2 more cards in, and I'm just like, I don't know what to cut, so I just won't. But yeah.
I also noticed he went with 3 Kiras. I think you had 2 in your main deck.
Yep.
So I almost feel like that means one's going to be resourced.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the cards are good. The cards work together so well, and everything is pretty stout. Like, it doesn't play bad units, really. They're all very viable, and they all have, like, a purpose. So yeah, if you want another Kira, it's the question of, okay, what are you not playing is usually the bigger point. And that's, that goes for every different card. Like, I mean, I've got a Fangfighter main. I'm playing 2 Bamboozles main. Like, I've got a lot of stuff, trying to anticipate what people are going to be playing. And Kira's good, but, like, I feel pretty strong into the control matchups anyway, which is where it's at its best. So I guess I don't mind it all being 2 of.
So tell me, how good a card is Depa?
I'm only playing 2. If that answers if that answers it as a whole, it's necessary, because you just want to be ambushing, like, all the time as you get into the later turns. But I think it's weaker than Plo Koon and Han. I think it's like,
okay,
it's in the middle. It's very much in the middle. Like, Plo Koon has a very specific purpose on 5 resources, and Han is just an absolute problem in the matchups where it's good. Depa does some stuff, but, like, in all fairness, the Saboteur did end up coming up against my my Kira opponent in round 4, because they had a Sentinel in play on the last turn, and I just hotshot attack for 9 because it already had a hotshot on it, and that was the end of the game. So it does matter, but I think it's the weakest of, like, the 3 big ambushers.
So there's some obvious cards in this list that I feel like are 3 ofs right from the get. I mean, the Adi Gallia, the Ahsoka, Cassian Andor, almost always. I mean, I can't think of a single deck that only plays 2 of them. That's Aggression Heroic. The Guerrilla Soldiers, awesome, just amazing card if your opponent decides not to play something against you. The L337s, Plo Koon, obviously. But then in this particular list, and I want to get your thoughts on this, he decided to sideboard one of the Millennium Falcons. And I think out of the 3 decks that we're going to be looking at, this is the only one that put a 3rd one in the sideboard.
I've seen that. I actually think the Quinlan deck from Galactics sided its Millennium Falcon, and then came out and said, "Hey, I shouldn't have done that." I think the card is just so good. Like, it is.
It really is.
It is one of the biggest amount of burst potentials in the deck, and it's the best way you can fight against some of the decks like Vader Pilot and stuff like that. Like, it just gives you so much play potential. I wouldn't be caught dead without 3 in the main deck, but teach their own.
I kind of feel the same way. It's such a surprise factor. Like, was it 6 resources you can drop? 5 resources you can drop that, and then surprise strike in, and you're hitting for 5 or 6. Excuse me. Yeah. And just insane. How many force units are actually in this deck?
I actually don't know off the top of my head. It's all the Ahsokas, the Adis, the Deppas, the Plo Koons, and the leader. I think that's it.
It's a lot of the early game, it looks like, besides the Deppa.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Plo Koon wouldn't really be early
Plo
game,
Koon's
it's mid-ish.
Yeah, early to mid, more mid. The biggest thing with Force Throw is that like you obviously have a leader that is a Force unit, and you can hold on to an Adi Gallia basically forever and just play it when you need it, right? Like, it's, I mean, the best open against pretty much any deck other than the mirror match is to play any given 2 cost, and then on turn 2 play Adi Gallia plus Force Throw and just absolutely bury everything they've done. Even opponents that are savvy enough to know that they're supposed to pass, that you can't get the free ping on turn 1, you get the ping with Adi, you get to Force Throw their next drop, you target down their play, and they just have nothing.
That is, yeah, with the 3 resources there, that is, Force Throw is going to be so missed.
Yes. I will miss it dearly.
Other things I was looking at in the sideboard for this particular deck that is a little different than yours. The Bamboozles in the sideboard. Obviously, you were saying earlier that you had a couple main deck. And then the Mace Windu. How do you feel about those being in the sideboard versus maybe not even being in the list at all with the Mace Windu or the Bamboozle being in the main deck?
I mean, Mace Windu is a pretty interesting card. I don't think I could find room for it. I'm really kind of attached to the way that I had the deck built. I really worked hard on getting the numbers, like, you know, what played well for me. The Bamboozle main versus side is a huge conversation. I mean, you can... This tournament was really poor representation for me to play. This was a terrible time for me to play Bamboozle main, because I played 2 mirror matches, Kira and Han 2. The tournament 2 prior to this, I was playing against, like, just Vader pilot after Vader pilot after Vader pilot, you know, Boba Fett after Boba Fett after Boba Fett, and it's just like, if I'm seeing these decks back to back to back to back, like, why am I siding this card in? Why am I not playing it? You know, and that was kind of the impetus to get it main. And yeah, it you know, it's 50-50. Maybe it's not exactly 50-50, but like, it is gonna be one of those like sort of tense cards where if you play the right decks, it's going to be an all-star, and if you play the wrong decks, it's going to be a resource. So,
well, let's take a look at this Kira deck that was your final opponent that you played against, and tell me a little bit about your lines of play against Kira. Like, what are you trying to do turns 1, 2, and 3, and how are you trying to avoid that super long game where their units start to kind of overwhelm the board?
Yeah. So I'm, again, fairly new, and in my experience, the blue-green villain package just doesn't have what it takes to stop this deck. The Quinlan deck just curves out so cleanly, creates so many problems, like, all at once. It attacks the hand. I mean, having Ahsoka and Force Throw, like, they just don't get to build up the way they want to, right?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of ways you can put pressure on them. I mean, Guerrilla Soldiers is just a humongous issue. It deals so much damage. The deck, the Quinlan deck, just has such great tools for fighting control that I've never struggled, really. And it's usually on the back of some really, like, crazy sort of top decks going on. And I will say this: my opponent in this tournament had a, like, from 0 cards in hand, 7 resources, draws, goes resource, super laser blast. Like,
wow.
You know, those are his exact 2 cards with, like, yeah, any card plus a super laser. But I had already, like, hit him with a Sparkly Rebellion. This was game 2. I had already hit him with Sparkly Rebellion and discarded 1 of the super laser blast, and he just plays another one, like, off of 0 cards in hand. And that does, like, when they draw that, you know, precisely, it puts pressure on you. But I still 2-0'd, you know. So you can work out even those dire situations. You can still work your way out of it.
And this Kira list is kind of interesting to me in that it's pulling a full set of the 3 overwhelming barrages, which I totally agree with, and then also 3 super laser blasts. So it's, I like to wipe a board deck.
Yeah. I mean, Kira is the leader that wants super laser blast the most because it flips on 5, right? Like, out of all the blue green, like, villainy control options, I feel like it is the deck that, like, uses it best. So, you know, I definitely don't fault him on choosing 3, but I was able to not fall victim to too much of that. A lot of the discard and a lot of the, like, understanding where the pressure points are and, like, being able to play into certain boards and you know, making them split their attention and knowing when to attack so that you don't get part of the dark sided for lost value and etc. There's just like a lot of little stuff you can do, and like I got there. It was a 2-0, but like I said, he did make me work for it. Like the deck does have good cards in it, and if they draw them at the right time, you could be in trouble. But
can you
I think that blue green villain is like a good matchup for Quinlan as it was.
As a whole, yeah. I feel like they really have to lean real hard on their Palpatine's returns to get those cards back that you're ripping out of their hand. And then a force throw is so good against them because they just usually have a big, high cost unit sitting somewhere in their hand. And, as I look at the list, there's not a lot of low end to it. And by the time I guess you would be force throwing like around turn 3-ish, to let them get some of their small stuff out.
It depends. Yeah, it just depends on what the board states are. Like a lot of times I had to force throw to finish off the Kira once it flipped because I couldn't just leave that thing in play. But I honestly don't even think I had a ton of force throws against this opponent. I think I actually may have only played one, maybe two. I don't recall perfectly, but it was a lot of Ahsoka, a lot of Spark Rebellion coming in out of the side was huge. That card matters a lot in this matchup. Not just because of the card you discard, but like knowing what they're capable of, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you hit them with anything that looks at their hand, whether it's the Kira unit in my deck or the Spark of the Rebellion, once you know what their next couple of turns look like, it's you can figure it out. You can usually get across the finish line.
Yeah, knowing your opponent's hand is so knowledge of what your opponent has coming is at you is so valuable, and I think a lot of people underrate that. I was very intrigued with the fact that he went with the Ogdobogdos. I was pretty intrigued with the main deck Palpatine's returns, and then the Vaders, the new set 5 Vaders being in the sideboard while he's playing 3 timely interventions was pretty interesting to me as well. But this was the list that he put together, and the 2 Anakins I think was probably the right place to be. But I do feel like in a deck like this, where you're not really getting the advantage of heroic cards in your graveyard, or discard pile, I should say, that maybe those Vaders should have been in the main board instead of the Anakins, because you're only getting them 1 -3/-3.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, I did not get to see his whole list ahead of time or after the fact. I never went back and checked it out. I know the tournament's available now, but I just never went hunting. And yeah, looking at it now, I'm kind of with you. I kind of wonder if the Vader isn't a little bit more of an effective main deck card, but maybe not. I mean, the Anakin is good. The Anakin is really good. I'm not sure. It's to be determined, because the Anakin is just, you don't need anything to play it. Like,
true.
It's only 1 -3/-3, but it should be always active. Whereas the Vader really hurts if you don't have the time to force them lined up.
That is true. That is a good point. And then the 2 Rivals Falls. I mean, for a while there, we were seeing decks that just were not even bothering with Rivals Falls. Almost like Rivals Fall fell out of the meta. And now we're seeing decks that are bringing at least 1 in the main, usually 1 in the sideboard, and he went ahead and just played 2 in the main. So that might be a kicker towards that data vault, giving him the extra 10 cards in his deck, which allowed the extra slot there. But that was pretty cool to see that card back getting played again. And then Takedown was another one. I was noticing a lot of the young Han blues, so the red heroic blue combination, were basically just dropping the takedowns completely because of how powerful Force Throw was now. At least what my thought was is why they were doing it. But I always felt like Takedown was just such a clean answer to Sabine, and a lot of difficult to deal with units that can be in a Quinlan Voss list that all have those 5 health bodies to them. So it was kind of interesting seeing he brought that. Did you notice any cards that he brought out of his sideboard in against you? And
he did have top targeted against me, because when I sparked him in game 2, he had top target, and I remember that. But that, in all honesty, looking at his sideboard, that might have been about all he brought in.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe the Snoke comes in, but it feels ambitious to hope that you're going to get to Snoke levels when he already has so much high end in his deck already. I don't know if you need to bring in more against my deck. I think you're looking to lower the curve rather than increase it.
That makes a lot of sense. to bring that down. Probably that regional governor may have made it back into the list too.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, just call force throw and put her in play, just,
Yep.
and just pray. You know,
It didn't happen, but yeah, you could have tried it.
so let's take a look at your list. Now that we've talked about everybody that you played against, and your list, I think. Yep, here we go. Lord Perth. Where did the name Lord Perth come from? Is that a Star Wars character I don't know, or is that a handle you just had?
It is a Stephen King character from the Dark Tower series.
Really?
Yeah. It's been my moniker for the better part of 20 years now, and I can't get rid of it.
Okay. Afterwards, we're going to have to talk a little about that, because I have that all on Audibles, and now I'm over here scratching my head who Lord Perth is.
It is a very seldom mentioned character. He might be in the entire series twice. He is not a main player, so you're okay if you miss it.
I appreciate the leeway there. But with your list, we see that you've got the one disabling Fang fighter. I think the other two lists we were looking at had two. But you have the third Millennium Falcon, a full set of the Red Fives, which I love that card. It's so great to be able to somewhat control your opponent's board while also putting pressure on the base. I can't speak highly enough of it. I think the two Kiras, though, are the right place to be. Like, for me personally, I feel like two Kiras is where you want to be with the deck.
Right.
I can understand three. I mean, I get it.
I can too. It's one of those cards that's like on the fence. I'm always on the fence about it. It's got matchups where it's one of the best things you can do for 4 resources, and it's got matchups where it's like, I wish this was an Ahsoka, right? So there's give and take. I'm basically, I think that it's not even a tiebreaker, because you would never play less than 3 Ahsokas, but realistically, I just, because Ahsoka's a force unit, because it's actual like raw card advantage, etc. Like you just can't. You definitely can't trim there, and then it becomes an issue of like, okay, how am I adjusting my really want to put another 4-cost unit in, and I've not figured it out. So there you go. 2 Kiras is my answer.
Yeah, and then that gave you some room for things like the bamboozles, and there's nothing better than being able to tap down a unit that somebody thought they were going to attack with. It's such a tempo changer.
Yeah, I mean it's the bamboozle, like I said, is obviously a humongous nod to all the pilot leaders, because of the fact that it sends it back to their leader zone and they cannot epic action again. That is absolutely backbreaking against all the decks that are very focused on space. And the Kira deck does, the Quinlan deck. We're talking about Kira. The Quinlan deck does kind of struggle in space a little bit. I mean, I'm playing, what am I playing? 11, 10 space units. You can get overrun there. It is, scary when there's a deck that's like really, really hyper-focused on space. So having the bamboozle as like an extra way to fight those pilots, in particular the pilot leaders, it matters a lot.
I can definitely see that being the case there, with, you said 11 space units, especially against like a Vader deck, which brings me to my next question. A lot of decks have just been going hard in on bombing run to handle, either being overwhelmed on the ground or overwhelmed in whatever lane dodge that your opponent's doing. I'm really interested in that grenade strike. Was that there for the Vader matchup, or was that there for just a versatility slot for several different matchups?
It's heavily there for the Vader matchup. It is distinctly possible to get 2 of their like actual rectangles with it. And if they don't have, real units, they can't make more tokens, and it is so much faster than Bombing Run. And, yes, Bombing Run is going to, completely reset what they're doing and crumble their board. But you have to wait until 5 resources and then invest 5 resources into that. Whereas Grenade Strike can just trip them up enough that you can just beat them up on the ground. Like, in that matchup, if you're on the ground, curving out, and they're in the space curving out, and you play Grenade Strike combined with, Quinlan's pings at the right time, you can win it on the back of that one card sometimes.
That's all. Yeah, I mean, turn 1, if you just like knock both their units out, they're so far behind.
Yeah, it's tough to do that, because you do want to be on the aggression a little bit. You do want to play a guy. In my experience, it's like I play my 2-drop even if they have the initiative, if they're playing 2/1 drops, I'm still going to take the initiative for turn 2, and then you can just open with a grenade strike right away and get them both before they can attack.
One of the other cards that is it standard 2 for Sabine Wren, the unit?
No, this is my sort of trim to get the land speeders in. I've cut a Sabine in an L3 from my deck to fit in the 2 land speeders. I'm still on 12 2-drops, but I've diversified.
Okay. And then Spark of Rebellion in the sideboard. I'm not sure if I recall in the last 2 if they had Spark of Rebellion even in their list, but still a tried and true card, huh?
Yeah. It's, I mean, I see it here and there. Not everybody's still playing it. Some people are. It's weird to think about anymore since we're kind of in this like, post-ban world right now as to, continuing to tune this deck that I put a lot of work into is, kind of pointless now. But the Sparks they always felt pretty good to me. Like we spoke about a little while ago, like having that knowledge of your opponent's hand can just be so invaluable. It really helps you, figure out your plays and move on. I bring them in the mirror match. I brought them in against both my opponents that I played the mirror match, and I specifically asked them, like, do you guys have Sparks? Did you bring them in? Do you have a main? Do you have whatever? And they both, well, maybe not both, just the first guy. He's like, no, I don't even play Spark. And our game 3 was almost defined by a Spark. I sparked him at a really critical moment, taking, I think, a Han. I think it was a Han, and it just crumbled a lot of what he was trying to set up. So I think it's a really strong card. Like it does something that mostly you can't get otherwise. Looking at their hand, taking a threat, and formulating a plan. It's a lot for 2 resources.
Yeah, it is definitely Star Wars Unlimited's version of Thoughtseize for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, you don't have to take damage.
And you don't have to take the damage. Exactly. It's pretty sweet. And it's been a great card. And one of the things so after Force Throw is gone, it's going to open up 3 slots in this deck. And I still think this deck is viable. And the reason I say that is that it was a very strong deck before Set 5 came out and Force Throw became the card that everybody turned to. Force Throw wasn't in this deck before Set 5. They leaned really heavy on the Spark of Rebellion and jamming communications for their hand disruption. Do you see this as a deck that moving forward you're going to step away from and kind of go into a different flavor of colors and aspects? Or
So I've heard some people saying what you're saying, that look at historically Quinlan's been a good deck since the leader came out, and that's true, but all the other decks got better. Quinlan didn't get better except for getting force units and getting Force Throw as a thing that it can do all the time, right? A lot of these cards are the same cards that have been in the deck kind of the whole time. So the way that it improved was Adiglia. The way that it improved was Depa. The way that it improved was Force Throw being an actual option. Those things being trimmed out actually, in my opinion, hurts this deck more than any other deck in the format. I've had this conversation with a couple other people, and I'm of the opinion that number one, Force Throw your opponent was kind of at its strongest in this deck because we're playing like a lot of other discard, right? Ahsoka, the Sparks out of the side, etc. We've got ways to put genuine pressure on your hand. Number two, this is a tempo deck at its core, so Force Throwing self and being able to trade card disadvantage for a massive up tempo on board matters a lot. That this deck cared about that more than most decks. And finally, the red-yellow combination just has nothing now. If you play a guy with 5 HP, I just look at it. I have no way to fight that without using multiple effects, multiple attacks. It's really rough when this color pair depended on it so much.
Yeah, I can see that action economy kind of being a disadvantage now that Force Throw's out, where you can just do something with one action. Now you're having to spend 2, maybe 3, possibly trading a unit or 2.
Yeah, that's if you're lucky enough to actually get through whatever the problem may be. I mean, yes, it like I said, it is a tempo deck. You do want to just be attacking the base very often, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to interact with the board, and now it's going to be very difficult to do. I mean, I feel like this deck just without Force Throw just absolutely folds to a Children or something, right? You just a big, unit in the ground that you can't attack through is a problem. So I don't know. I do not plan on playing it any longer. I don't really have any idea what I am going to play. I think this was probably the deck that took the biggest casualty. And in all honesty, my little, tinfoil hat theory is that the pretty consistent Quinlan numbers were what finally pushed them to decide to ban it, in all honesty.
That's a good point.
The fact that it's been so consistently at the top tables they're able to do a massive shakeup because it's other decks also, but that's, look at the history of the last few weeks. That is the deck that's been showing up the most next to Boba, and now that one's just going to immediately disappear, I feel like.
Okay. Well, I definitely will know as time rolls through these next 5 weeks here, and we'll circle back around to that prediction and see how right Ken was on this one.
It'd be cool to be wrong because I own all those cards and I don't own many other players, so it'd be really cool to be wrong. But I don't think so. This
weekend's going to be a very interesting weekend, for sure. And speaking of decks that like to get out in front, your top 8 opponent was Shafi. I'm going to say is how to pronounce that. Strafey. That makes more sense. Strafey. Another force throw deck, Young Han Blue. Everybody knows it's been there and doing well, using things like Grogu. Sometimes they're like 2 Grogus, sometimes it's 3. The Owen Lars always being a great card to be able to throw away to a force throw. I think that's almost exclusively the reason why it's in there. But it does allow you to grab those other force units, which is really great. And it does have the shielded 2-drop, 2/2 with the Secret of Sage. So your speeders probably would have a pretty good chance to shine in a match like this. What do you think were the major turning points in the games that you played? Because I think you guys did, was it 3? Did you go to 3?
Just 2. Yeah,
it was a 2-0.
He beat me up pretty bad. So game 1 is, in my opinion, a bit of a non-game. He started turn 1 Grogu, as you kind of alluded to, and that is such a ridiculously oppressive play. Like it is. Again, Quinlan being a tempo deck, turn 1 Grogu, the correct play is for me to play no unit, take the initiative, start the next turn, activate Tarkin Town, put it up to 5 damage, play my 3-drop, put 6 damage on it. In the meantime, he gets to attack and gain the force, which means he is then active to play an Itinerant Warrior or an Adi not Adi Kiadi Mundi on turn 2 with whichever upside effect. And I've just played my first unit. So as a tempo deck, that is basically impossible to come back from. So he played turn 1 Grogu. We got to about turn 7. I had 0 damage on his base, and I lost. That was it. The opening of, like, I can't express to you how incredibly unfun and unfair that card is in the Han deck. I don't really fully understand why they gave it 6 HP. Like, that is, I think, a design mistake in my opinion. But they did it, and there it is. And it's when the Han deck has that card, when they high roll their curve and they just have the best thing every turn, starting with Grogu, it's pretty much impossible for any deck to beat them. If they play the best card all the way up, they just win, and it's not a particularly difficult thing to understand what's happening. They're just playing better cards than you, faster than you, all the way up, right? Game 2 was much more of a slog. We went back and forth a lot. I ended up getting 27 out of 28 damage on him, and ended the game with all 3 of my Millennium Falcons in my deck still, 1 Daring Raid in my deck still, a Surprise Strike in my deck still, like 2 Cassians in my deck still. Like, I was drawing to, like, I don't know, 10 or 11 cards or something on the last 2 turns and just didn't see them. And for the whole game, he was just, like, incredibly cold to the Millennium Falcon, and I just never had it. Which, again, is crazy to me that some people are playing 2 instead of 3 in the main deck. But yeah, it's the Han deck is a menace. It's a deck to worry about. The curve up potential is rivaled by basically none, and it was the matchup I didn't want to see in the top 8. And of course, there was one Han in the top 8, and it's who I got paired against. So unfortunate, but that's what happens.
And I think that I saw. Let's see here. Where was it? So the Han Solo player that you went up against also was the winner of the event.
Yes, I believe he went all the way with it. Yep.
So he was making things definitely work in his favor. Let me see if I can pull up that final round. Yeah, there he is sitting there. 8-1. I mean, he didn't even draw.
No, he was playing at the top tables when we were drawing. I saw him there. I was kind of looking at some of the different decks, seeing what might be coming up, and I hoped it wasn't that deck, but of course it made it, and yeah, it's just so deflating. That turn one Grogu just completely, like I said, it just takes the wind right out of your sails. There's so little you can do against it, and that's a deck that I'll be curious to see how it goes forward, because definitely Force Throw hurts that deck, but not as much as some of the others. So maybe that deck just keeps on pushing.
Yeah, I do feel like Force Throw does hurt this deck, because you don't get that. I get to throw away one of my Crate Dragons at your leader when you flip it, or plays like that, which this deck seems to be able to recover from because of the Ki-Adi-Mundis, and even the Owen Lars replacing itself and giving you a chance to go grab a Ki-Adi-Mundi and get that card advantage, which is a strategy that I can only imagine would work really well against a Kira list or Quinlan list that's trying to get that hand disruption and bring down the amount of resources that you have to play with.
I mean, that is true. Like we have efficient units that are supposed to be attacking you faster than you can deal with them, and the Han leader allows you to fight through that. In particular, when you have things like the Grogu and the Chirin, like cards that are really hard to attack through. Which is why you usually want to have a little bit of space damage that you can be attacking, because this deck it's a pure ground deck, right? Like they don't have a single space unit in the deck, so you really do like to have like a space unit at some point, in particular the Falcon, because you can get a lot of free damage off of it. And then the other thing is I can attack your hand and plays, and then they just play Ki-Adi-Mundi and they're right back on top. So it's definitely got it is a bad matchup, I think, for my deck, and it was played well and drew well, and I just there was not a lot I could do about it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the way it happens with these games. There is luck, involved. Like you were saying, you had several top decks that you could have possibly hit, and if you just hit one of those Millennium Falcons, you would have finished off that 1 point of damage that you needed to get done. Most likely.
Most likely, yeah.
And he may have had an answer for you. He may have been holding a Force Throw or something. And
I knew a lot of his hand for most of this, because I was kind of ripping him up in the hand. But yeah, there was. You never know exactly what's going to happen. I just feel like if I had drawn a little bit better, I probably could have taken it to a game 3. So
Well, nonetheless, congratulations on a very well played PQ. Was that the first Planetary Qualifier that you had played for Star Wars Unlimited?
Nope, that's my third one. Okay. I played in Raleigh. I ended up going 3-2 drop. I was really upset about my losses at that one, and I just wanted to go home. It was 7 rounds. I might have been able to top 16 that or something, but I was just like, I'm not going to fight through this. And I played the Goose Creek one in South Carolina, and I got top 8 in that one as well.
Okay, all right, over at Xynergy, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
That was a very well paced event. I think the judges there did a great job of just keeping it just going, even with a lunch break. It was a catered lunch break. Don't forget. Yeah, you don't see that at any other, like that's a one of a kind right there. Mm-hmm. So got to give some big kudos out to Xynergy Gamers and Goose Creek for what they did. I guess now 3 weeks ago, the 27th of August, or last 27th of
maybe 4.
Yeah, it's on 4. Yeah,
up 4. Yeah.
Wow, time flies, right?
Yes, it does.
Before we know it, we're going to be playing set 6 cards and not even worrying about the Force anymore. We're going to be worried about all those spy tokens they're giving up. Okay. So, with that said, you got 15 points. And you top 8'd in the other one. So you got 30 points total now.
Yep.
Right? Tell me your thoughts on because we had a little conversation about that
Yeah.
Sunday. Tell us what you think about that 15 point for the top 8, and then the 25 for top 4, and that how that all shakes out.
So it's now you've got me confused. It's 15, 25, 50, 100, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't going to misquote the math. So yeah, that's such a cool amount. Because now that I've got my 30, I still need to top 8 like 2 or 3 or 4 more times, or 7 more times, or whatever, to qualify for Vegas. I'm really confused why they didn't make it a clean break of 25, 50, 75, 100, and all the numbers go together nicely. Because as I stand right now, like let's say I top 8 again, I still need to either win an event to get over the 100 threshold, which means I've already got 100 from winning, and all of those top 8s that I had accrued prior do nothing. Or I have to get second and then get another top 8.
Another top 8, yeah, and then you have extra points.
Those are my like minimum things. If I get like even you see what I'm saying? So like the point accumulation for 5th through 8 just don't do anything. They leave you in a position where you basically are. It's as if you hadn't top 8'd at all, because you can't like yes, I could just top 8 7 times, and 15 times 7 gets me there, but that's kind of insane to like ask or expect people to do. And the flip side of that is, if I do like decently, if I get any like if I get some point or whatever, like that doesn't really do anything for me. Like the 30 plus 50 doesn't put me in any like nice spot. And that's I'm saying that from a seat where I'm like kind of lucky because I have 30 already. People who just top 8 once and have 15, like throw them in the garbage. Like they don't do anything. Like yeah. if you are gonna go to some like a limited number of other events, and you're, man, yeah, I got these 15, go to Vegas, and what does this do for me? Well, when you look at it, well, the next event you go to, you got to win. it doesn't change anything. They don't go together in any nice way. And that's, I don't know. They did it on purpose. I don't think that they like messed up the math. I'm just very curious, like, what their logic is on this. Like, why did they want? I mean, it's almost for me disincentivizing me to go, because it's like I feel like what I've done doesn't matter and I could leave it behind. Whereas if I had crested some little hill somewhere, I'd be more motivated to like. But because of the 2 top 8s I have right now, like mostly don't plug into future calculations. It's like take it or leave it. Maybe I'll go to more PQs. We'll see what next season has as far as localities, like where I can go. But it leaves me personally in a really weird spot, and I wonder how many other players that are kind of like dabbling in that competitive space, like maybe they aren't spiked all the way in and like really really grinding it out. Like I wonder how other people feel about it.
All you need is 3 more top 4s, right? Because they're 25 points apiece.
Sure.
You got 3.
Sure, 3 more top 4s.
Just do 3 more. 3 more.
Which we've seen how good I do in the top 8 max. The quarterfinals are my kryptonite. But yeah, you're right that like if I want to top 8 5 times to go to Vegas, that is a path. But it's like it feels to me like maybe 4 should be enough. Maybe
yeah.
It should have just been 25 points down there, and let us. I think 4 top 8s is pretty commendable.
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially when you're in events that are running 6 rounds, 7 rounds. Now we do get some of those planetary qualifiers that have like 24 players. So maybe that was a little bit of their calculation in that. There are some smaller planetary qualifiers that do happen, but it seems like Europe just blows up. I don't know if it's because of the interconnectedness of their railway systems or whatever, but those players get to these PQs. And another thing that was kind of interesting is in Europe at least, I didn't really track what happened in the States with the sectors, but the sector and the regional sold out in Europe like within an hour and a half to 2 hours. of them going live. So
Which that was another weird choice that they made, is to cut the caps in half from last season.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. It feels like they were selling well. It feels like they had the momentum, and everybody was so excited with Vegas. And then the announcement comes, and all of those mid-level, the big events, like the non-galactic big events, they chopped the cap in half on all of them when they made the announcement. And I immediately messaged a buddy of mine, and I was like, "Why'd they do this?" And he's like, "Wait, they chopped them in half." He didn't even realize. And he was just like, "Man, that's so weird. Like I thought the attendance was booming. I thought they were really making that push, and then just out of the blue, that there are definitely some weird choices on that side of things that I can't guess. I can't tell you why they're doing them. We'll see what happens."
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely strange that they would lower the caps, even if they lowered them 25%, it would still be strange. You think they would want to double the caps, because, like you said, there is momentum with the game. It's gaining popularity. It's one of the top 10 growing TCG games at the moment, and to kind of stifle that growth at that more competitive level, this feels like it might not be the best call.
Yeah, what did they say? There were like 3,000 unique players at Galactics, and then they're like, we probably need less seats at the next regional. It's like, that's how
maybe it was a chair rental.
Business sense. It's so crazy. But,
they couldn't find a good deal on the chair rentals, so they had to bring it down a little bit. They fired like 3,000 side events on day 2 at the Galactics.
Yeah,
it was insane. It set records. Yeah, so very, very interesting decisions that are being made there. Set 6, last thing I'm going to talk to you about, because we're pushing right at an hour, and I don't want to put anybody to sleep. What are you looking at set 6 from the spoilers? What's catching your eye? Has anything popped out yet? Plot, how do you feel about it?
Okay, I'll go in. I am one of those people who doesn't care about spoiler season, because there's no context, right? If you don't have the format in front of you, how can you really? It's really sort of disingenuous to say, "Oh, this is going to be such a good card," when you have no idea. You have no idea what the next card is going to be, what the next deck is going to look like, what the next format's going to be, because they don't, until all the cards are out, you really can't make a great assertion. So I don't have anything right now because I mostly ignore spoilers. I'm a little bit weird about that. I glance. Somebody will send me, "Hey, what about this? How do you think?" So I know a little going on. But the broad strokes, I think plot is awful. I think it is such a weird thing to choose to be sort of the flagship ability in an entire set's design. Obviously, again, this is without context, and maybe I'm doing the whole thing that I'm not supposed to do. But if you look at just the mechanics of the game, you can, epic action your leader and deploy it once per game, and you've created an entire mechanic around that happening one time. That doesn't give a lot of play space. That doesn't allow you to do very much in terms of plot. And it also very much hamstrings like what the cards can and should do and which ones will actually end up in decks, right? Like, I can't just put 22 plot cards in my deck. Like, that's a mistake unless they're all so good otherwise, which is a separate topic. It just wouldn't be correct to build a deck that way. So I'm a little apprehensive about the set and what I've seen so far and sort of the broad strokes. And I kind of wonder a little bit that if they've got themselves in a pattern, every third set is meant to be. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing.
That's a good point.
Maybe they dial the power back on purpose. I don't know, but I'm waiting. A little bit of bated breath. We're going to see what comes, but I'm not super excited for plot.
Yeah, I think I've only seen one plot card two that interest me, and they're both, I think, 4 costs. So you have to be playing a leader that flips in an effective way, and you have 4 resources open. The one is the upgrade that gives a unit +2/+3 for 4, which is a terrible rate.
Yes.
But if you can put it on your Sabine, it keeps it from being takedown or what have you. There also is the new Chancellor Palpatine, I think it is, or new Chancellor card that puts 2 spy tokens into play when it plots out. I saw a deck tech that was with Captain Rex using the what's the card that gives every unit +1/+1 for every other unit you have? The one that Captain Rex is like known for.
Yeah, I don't know. That's before my time, I think.
Yeah, I can't recall it myself. So
yeah.
You're definitely in the clear on that one. But like, it was using the base that created 2 droid tokens when you deployed and all that, and it like, even if they wiped your board, you just had instant army, bang, as soon as your leader flipped, and that was kind of cool.
It'll be cool if there's like a new sort of, or maybe even an old archetype that gets like revitalized by this stuff. But like at its baseline, and I mean, you can understand this about me because of the fact that I play Quinlan, right? Like I like to play a deck that has like a lot of good cards in it and not a lot of gimmicky stuff in it, right? Like I want every individual card, like pound for pound, to be able to do something very specific and be good at it. So like, try to put all these pieces together and make some big grandiose thing. Perhaps it ends up being pretty good, but it's not going to interest me that much. And kind of like a final, you just reminded me of the when you mentioned the +2/+3 item for 4 resources. Like, number one, that card is, like you said, that is terrible rate. Like you could never just play that card, right? You have to be really caring about that plot trigger for it to matter. But one of the things that I'm like biggest like hung up on that is it's like, yeah, you get that big umph of doing everything all at once so they can't just immediately take down your Sabine, but it costs you your whole turn, right? Like one of the strongest things about flipping Sabine sometimes is the fact that if they don't respond to it, if they don't do something, Sabine's gonna hit them for a bunch of damage, and you haven't spent any of your resources yet. So you still get to take a turn behind Sabine and develop more stuff and like play other cards. And now they're down tempo because they had to respond to Sabine. So it's like, yes, maybe the Sabine doesn't die, but it's like, is giving it +2 power better than the other thing you were going to play? Like the generic pressure that a Sabine deck can create? Probably not in a lot of cases, but I think fundamentally flipping your leader is a way to develop your board without spending resources is so valuable that getting kind of trapped into spending your resources on plot needs to have a really high upside. Otherwise, you're kind of cutting off your own legs in that exact mechanic. Well, again, I'm falling victim to the thing I don't want to do. But when we see all the cards, I'll maybe sense if there's if there are plot cards that are worthwhile, or maybe there's even some other way to use the mechanic, right? Maybe they make some deploys multiple times or something, right? Like we already have Trench, right?
Trench, yeah.
Maybe they make a better one that can deploy multiple times, and there's an actual deck or something. But without seeing the whole set file, it's kind of pointless to. For me, at least, to do too much, conjecture.
Well, the first thing I thought of when you were talking about, spending all your resources for that +2/+3 is how bad is that Bamboozle going to feel?
Right. That card's still around, y'all. Like, it hasn't left yet.
That's right. And it did. Oh, and then I still have 2 more resources left. Let's go. Or 3. Let's
do
this
all of them
thing.
because I just discarded a card to break your entire turn. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a feel bad moment right there, because then you're forced to have to play it for 4 to get it back onto the field, which nobody would. No, that just feels bad. But hey, I want to thank you for your time, Ken. It was a pleasure meeting you this weekend. Knowing that you were in the Charleston area also for the PQ is really cool. 2 out of 3 top 8s ain't bad. I wish that it put you at the 50-point mark right now.
Yeah, same.
But, what other events do you have in the future that you're looking at? Or are you just going to wait till next season's release?
I think we're looking at post set 6 before I can really make it to another one. I was kicking around the idea of going to Philly. Really is not great with my schedule. And then geographically, the next closest one is like DC in a couple of weeks, and that's like a 5-hour haul or something for me. So I'm not super excited about that. So I'm probably laying low until the next set.
That makes I know I am. That was the one and really only PQ that I was coming with something that I felt like I could gun with, and didn't gun so well. It's the way it happens
Hey,
sometimes.
I like Sabine. Sabine is a fun deck to play, so I don't blame you for bringing it up.
Yeah, it's served him well in the past, but it just didn't do me so well. But again, thank you for your time. I don't want to take too much more of it. I know it's a Friday night, and you've got a wife waiting on you.
Oh yeah.
And I really do appreciate you joining us. This is On the Play Games. Wishing you, whether it's day or night, may the force be with you. And don't forget about that way Metal Fab. Check them out. They have got great tokens. The life pucks have been amazing. This past weekend on Sunday, I had one life puck that worked the whole 6 rounds and had half a battery. So for $30, probably the best way you can track your life for value per dollar. So check that out, and hope to see y'all out at the tables.